Biggest third down in Bryce Young's career. You need 10. Play clock at 4. From the pocket. Launching downfield. Underthrown and intercepted. Keely Ringo has an escort down the sidelines. All the way to the end zone. And Georgia is going to conquer the Crimson Tide.
It's time for the Mad Dog Show, coming to you live from the Park Group studio in the heart of the Bulldog Nation. The Mad Dog Show is proudly sponsored by the Sanford Company, Fincher's Barbecue, Sellers Construction, Go Clean Co., Cherokee Brick, Progressive Communications, J. Lee Attorney at Law, Ortho Georgia, Pelicano Construction, Jags Pizzeria and Pub, Bibb Distributing, the Butler Auto Group, the Park Group, Corporate Connection, the Dog Bone, and Bulldog Illustrated. Now, here he is, your host, the Mad Dog.
Welcome back to the only podcast where you get to hear what you feel. No one is consistently out there bashing Alabama and Ohio State and Notre Dame. No one is consistently crushing the mainstream media, lauding their manufactured narratives. Here's one for you. Michigan is the 4th best team in the country. You believe that, right? Michigan. And that's because they've beaten Colorado State, Hawaii, UConn, and Maryland at home barely. Tennessee's better. Kentucky's better. Arkansas's better. Hell, Texas A&M and Florida are better. I'd love to see the lines on that. And given the gift of time, it will be proven to one and all that Michigan is actually not the 4th best team in the country, because I will prove the AP wrong again per usual. But let's not start negative. Let's not start this out on a negative note. Let's start positive. We've done some positive things here. First of all, we launched the Mailman for Heisman, which needed to be done, and I don't know why anybody else hadn't done it. And as you know, Stetson Fleming Bennett IV, a.k.a. Staquavius, is also known as the Mailman. Why is he known as the Mailman? Because he wore an iconic United States Post Office hat during his recruiting cycle. Why did he do that? Well, the reason he does that is because he always delivers. And you can't argue with his results. So no natty in 41 years. And then you have this walk-on quarterback, boom, he delivers a natty. And that was just his first movie in this franchise, because the sequel to that movie is his coming back and him winning a Heisman and him winning a back-to-back natty. So again, to commemorate this, we've created Mailman for Heisman, which you can get at www.themaddog.com. Those are being made by our friends and sponsors at Corporate Connection. So if you're here locally in Macon, go by Corporate Connection on Forsyth Road. If not, if you're, Frank Dye in the Dominican Republic, then what you do is you use the interweb and you go to www.themaddog.com and you get them there. The problem's been keeping them in stock, and I have been assured by Corporate Connection that we are now stocked up. So get in there, order those things. You keep ordering, we'll keep making them. Now, the second positive things we did, which was easily cooler than making a t-shirt, was we launched the Mad Dog Magic campaign with Malcolm Mitchell. What is it? It's a season-long charity campaign for Malcolm Mitchell's Share the Magic Foundation. What do? Well, it's a charity dedicated to inspiring kids to learn to read for free. And the basic premise is this: the higher your reading level, the higher your level of success in life. Someone with an MBA typically achieves a higher level of success than someone with a GED, which is not to say someone with a GED is not going to achieve a high level of success. That happens all the time. But generally speaking, that is the case. So the premise of it is simple yet brilliant, and the scope of it is endless. And, he started right here in the state of Georgia, and it's just a beautiful concept. So we thought, well, hey, how could we help with this wonderful cause? And so here's what we did. Chad Brooks is a friend of mine here in Macon. Chad works for Microsoft. And I knew that anytime Chad makes a charitable donation, Microsoft will match that. So I went to Chad Brooks and I said, hey, Chad, here's this wonderful charity. Why don't we do this? Why don't you donate $1,250 to this foundation, to Malcolm Mitchell's foundation? What does that trigger? That triggers Microsoft to then match that with $1,250 of their own. That triggers the Mad Dog Show to match that $2,500 with our $2,500. And then that triggers Colony Bank to match both of us with $5,000. I said, how does that sound, Chad Brooks? He said that sounds like a game-winning touchdown. So why Colony Bank, you say? Well, I just so happen to know the CEO of Colony Bank, which is Heath Fountain. Heath is a graduate of the Terry College of Business, and he is a friend. And Colony Bank's mission is to promote financial literacy to youth. So there's financial literacy from Colony Bank. There's youth literacy from Share the Magic Foundation. So it's like peanut butter and jelly. It's two great tastes that taste great together. So how are we going to do it? It's real simple. Malcolm is working with his team at Share the Magic Foundation to create a special hot button on his website that will simply say, Mad Dog Magic, click, donate, done. There will be W-9 information available for tax purposes. It's going to be simple and easy to do. And at the end of the year, we're going to tally up the money from this campaign that you raised for Share the Magic Foundation, give them a big check, and everyone will feel like they did when they woke up last January 11th. Remember that glorious, warm, and fuzzy feeling? You're going to feel like that. So with that, here we go. Get the picture. We're going to change it up a little bit. First, we're going to rewind last Saturday, and we're going to fast forward to next Saturday. That is followed by the Mad Dog Injury Report, sponsored by Ortho Georgia, featuring University of Georgia offensive lineman Dr. Ryan Snetzer. Next, we got Vance Levy, editor of Bulldog Illustrated. That's followed by Deke Wiggins from the Dogbone Online. And then he's back. Buffalo joins us with his special report. Then we have Dogger, our gambling guru. His picks never miss. And we round it out with Mad Dog's top 12. And I can assure you it looks vastly different from the AP top 12. So first, let's rewind Saturday. So rewinding, we had the perfect sunny September Saturday in Athens. The temperature was perfect and our execution was not, but it wasn't as bad as the 39-22 score. And look, we shouldn't have been surprised by this. If you'd been listening to Kirby Smart all week long, he'd been telling you Kent State is a good team, and me and you and everybody else, we didn't believe that. We didn't listen. We thought that was coach speak, and he was right. We played a well-coached team. I was there. They played crisp. They played clean. They played fundamentally sound football. They were not intimidated by us, and they didn't flinch one bit. On the other hand, and I know you were traumatized by our sloppy, sluggish sleepwalk on Saturday, we looked like it was possible that maybe the team wanted to go out and pre-celebrate a victory. Regardless of that, look, we had 3 turnovers, which changes everything. It makes it a completely different game. We had key players out like A.D. Mitchell, like Arian Smith, like Jalen Carter. But despite the score, Stetson, a.k.a. the mailman, he delivered. He had a 75% completion rate. He threw for almost 300 yards, and he had an amazing rushing TD. Why is that important? I'll tell you why it's important. He is in super rarefied air right now. He is the first QB since Heisman Trophy winner Tim Tebow to have 4 straight games with at least 250 passing yards and a rushing TD. That is an amazing statistic, and I'm going to tell you why it is even more amazing. Because Bryce Young didn't do that. Joe Burrow didn't do that. Kyler Murray didn't do that. Baker Mayfield didn't do that. Lamar Jackson didn't do that. Marcus Mariota didn't do that. Jameis Winston didn't do that. Johnny Football Manziel didn't do it. Cam Newton didn't do it. And Sam Bradford didn't do it. So the last 10 Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks did not do what Stetson just did. You have to go all the way back to Tim Tebow in 2007. So it's been 15 years since a Heisman Trophy winning QB has done that. And I want you to hear that. And I want you to tell your friends that, because the world needs to know about it, because ESPN's not talking about it. Have you read that? Did anybody just read to you the last 10 quarterbacks who won a Heisman Trophy that have not done that? Listen, this is the mailman for Heisman headquarters, if I haven't made that clear already, but I digress. Let's get back to the game. Ladd McConkey, poor guy, on the one hand, he had a bad day. On the other hand, he still led the receivers. He led the team, actually, in receiving. Ladd is a college guy. He is a college kid. Ladd needs love. We're going to need him. So I'm just saying, any of you that I've heard out there, I've heard some chirping, people bashing about him, having a bad day. We all have bad days. Fortunately for us, they're not in front of 100,000 people watching us at the same time. They're not in front of millions of people on TV. And I don't know about you, but most of us watching this are not, 18, 19, 20 years old. So if you had your bad day put out there on the internet and in front of 100,000 people to see, how would you feel about it? I don't think he'd feel too good. So I'm pretty sure he doesn't feel good about it. So the last thing he needs is any of your naysaying. Support the team regardless. Support the players regardless. Now, for everybody holding their breath about Kenny McIntosh's injury, breathe. Just breathe deep. This is crazy. I talked to him. I ran into him after the game. I saw him walking off the field with a big bag of ice on his leg. He was with his mom. And I said, "Yo, K-Mac, you good?" And he looked over at me and he said, "Yeah, I'm going to be fine," with a slight nod of the head. So then he asked for my autograph. I said, no, I'm not doing autographs right now, Kenny Mac. And of course, I'm kidding. Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers continues to look like Superman out there. You saw what I saw. It's a rare thing of beauty. It's an incredible sight to behold. Darnell Washington continues to look like the Incredible Hulk. I pity anyone who is getting blocked by him. I pity anyone who is trying to tackle him. It's almost not fair. Kendall Milton looks awesome. Speaking of running backs, Dejon Edwards looks awesome. He looks fantastic. In fact, I think he had more yards than any of our other running backs on Saturday. MRJS, Marcus Rosemy, Jack Saint, number one. He's doing a great job too. Ditto, Blaylock. Ditto, Kieris Jackson and Meeks. And then we got A.D. Mitchell coming back this week. We got Arian Smith coming back this week ahead of schedule. All right, now the defense. Our average points per game jumped from 3.3 to 8. 10 of those points on Saturday were due to turnovers. One of the touchdowns earlier in the season was a trash touchdown. But at the end of the day, who cares about average points scored, average points allowed? No one should, because the only stat that matters is your record. That's it, period. I'm excited about this defense. Yes, it's got youth. Yes, we've been able to play a lot of these young players. We've been able to give them meaningful snaps, get them a lot of playing time. And that's going to matter not only, later on in this year, it's going to pay off big time next year. So this defense, it's led by a veteran core of guys that is rock solid. Jalen Carter, also going to be back this week, plus Keely Ringo, plus Chris Smith, plus Nolan Smith, plus Robert Beal, and a heaping helping of the man they call Dirty Dan Jackson. And that's one hell of a core, one hell of a nucleus, if you will. And to this stout core, you need to learn some of the following newer names and numbers. And here they are. Zion Logue, number 96. Nazir Stackhouse, number 78. Warren Brinson, number 97. Bill Norton, number 45. Chaz Chambliss, number 32. Michael Williams, number 13. Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, it's a mouthful, and he's a big, big guy, number 95. Trammell Walthour, number 90. Bear Alexander, another big guy, number 99. Jamon Dumas Johnson, a.k.a. Pop, number 10. Smile Munden, number 2. He needs a nickname, by the way. Malachi Stark, so I'm sure you're already familiar with, number 24. Kamari Lassiter, number 3. And last but not least, Tyke Smith, number 23. So learn these names and numbers if you haven't already. Last year's defense is gone, in case you haven't figured that out yet. This crew is not just going to be okay. They're going to be elite too. This five-star talent aside, I've got 6 reasons why I know that they will be elite. And here they are. Number 1, Trey Scott, D-line coach. Number 2, Chidera Uzo Darib, outside linebackers coach. Number 3, Fran Brown, defensive backs coach. Number 4, Glenn Schumann, inside linebackers and co-defensive coordinator. Number 5, co-defensive coordinator Will Muschamp. And last but not least, number 6, the fifth reason, CKS coach Kirby Smart. This just in. This guy knows what he's doing. So there's your rewind. You feel better now? Good. Now let's fast forward to Missouri. But first, we got to rewind them too. Boy, oh boy, did they take a big old smelly dump in their own bed. Auburn tried as hard as they could to lose this game. They tried to lose, and in doing so, they tried to fire their coach, Coach Harsin. But Missouri said no. We won't accept your win on a silver platter. We choose not to score a TD in regulation, although we had plenty of time. We choose to miss a field goal that was the equivalent of an extra point. We choose not to score a touchdown in overtime. We choose to fumble on the goal line and take our loss. We hate Auburn so much that we will lose to Brian Harsin so that he could coach another week. The sports world could not quit talking about this game. I watched the ending and I couldn't believe it either. I've never seen anything like it. I just hope they don't rally around it. But even if they do it, it wouldn't matter because let's face it, Missouri sucks. But the line is only 27 and a hook, and we'll have to ask our gambling guru, Dogger, about that later. Their coach is Eli Drinkwitz. He's a nice guy. He's an odd choice for a head coach. But then again, who wants to coach there? The answer, no one that is any good. The quarterback is a sophomore named Brady Cook. He's allegedly a dual threat. So far this year, nothing has been threatening about him. His primary target is Luther Burden. You may remember him. We were in a recruiting battle for him. He ended up choosing Missouri. I'm sure he regrets that right about now. I mean, that's it. There's really no other real weapons to speak about. They have a handful of dudes to watch on defense, nobody worth bringing up. So let me summarize it thusly. They suck. We don't. We win. It's a 7:30 kick, so eat, drink, and be merry. Now it's time for the injury report, sponsored by Ortho Georgia, featuring UGA offensive lineman Dr. Ryan Snetzer.
The Mad Dog Injury Report with Dr. Ryan Schnetzer.
Dr. Ryan Snetzer, how you doing, my friend?
Doing good. Glad to be back.
Glad to have you back. Excited to have you back and talk about some big names coming back. Let's start with A.D. Mitchell. What are you hearing?
Yeah, it sounds like we got a couple guys set to come back this week. I think they still have him kind of listed as questionable, but I think it sounds like they're going to let him get out there and play this week.
So at the game, it's kind of hard to see a lot of times, but I heard that Jalen Carter kind of was played sparingly. Is that kind of what you saw? And we're kind of hopeful that he'll be back at full speed?
Yeah, I don't think he played any meaningful snaps on
Okay.
defense. I think he got in on a few special teams maybe, but that was about it. I think they're still just kind of like, letting him get a little bit in, but want to kind of save him, let him get, fully over this ankle injury. Hopefully that means he'll be back this week at full speed.
And speaking of ankle injuries, Arian Smith is coming back, it seems like shockingly fast from that surgery. That's way ahead of your timetable and mine too. What do you think's going on there?
It's hard to say. Like I said, we still don't know exactly what they did. But it sounds like they're letting him get out there and he's running some reps, and there's a good chance we might see him out there on Saturday.
Is there any chance that as a former player in the future, you could maybe access medical files so you could do a post-op review of the surgery?
Yeah. No, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, there's probably a HIPAA issue there too
There
that would preclude that.
Yeah.
Another guy who's going to really be thrust into a bigger spotlight, who's coming back from injury, is Tyke Smith, and that's primarily due to Billy Poole deciding to hang up his cleats. Javon Bullard's incident this weekend. So Tyke, blew his knee out. I think it was October of last year. Does that sound right?
I think that sounds about right. October, they would have just who was before Florida? I think right that game before Florida, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that would have been the mid-October would have been when he blew it out because there's always an off week.
Yep.
So, I mean, in today's world, with the wonders of modern medicine, at this point, if everything went properly, he should be completely good to go, correct?
Right. I think, now you're looking at most of these guys coming back off these ACL injuries, certainly in less than a year. 10 years ago it was always at least a year. Now we're looking at anywhere between that 6 and 9 month mark. Most
Mhm.
9 months, which that puts him. He's right at about 11 months now, so he's right in there.
And then I think you said before that a lot of times, physically they're back, but it's a big psychological hurdle for them to trust that knee again.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest thing coming out with these ACL injuries. These guys just got to be able to trust that knee and trust that they can do what they did before they were injured. So they may be 100% from a physical standpoint, but mentally they just got to get in there. I think to get a few hits, make a big play, make something just to really get them over that last little hurdle.
I've blown my knee out twice, 2 ACLs, and I still don't trust it 20 years later. So
Yeah.
I'm not running around on a football field at high speed, having high speed collisions. So I get it. I'm very hopeful for him. He's an All-American, somebody who came in, with such promise last year and then had the injury bug. And then right when he's coming back, he blew his knee out. So his getting well could not have come at a better time for us. And I'm really hopeful that he's going to step into that star role and be able to fill it without any problems.
Yeah, we're going to need him this week, and we don't know how long or what's going to happen with Bullard, so we're really going to need him to step it up and make some plays for us.
So speaking of him, in the past when you played, if a player got into a situation like that with let's call it a little legal trouble, what would happen? Would it be back then? It seems like you might be gone for the season.
Yeah, I think they made while I was there, they made a kind of a standardized policy across the athletic department. I think it was like, first offense was like a 10% of your season suspension. So for football, it was usually one game, and there's some other internal things you have to do. I'm sure there's been some modifications to that since I've been gone. So I don't know what that is, but I would expect at least a game. Maybe more.
Yeah.
I don't know what the new rules are on that, but I think a game. It sounds reasonable. 10% of the season for a first offense. So we'll see what it turns out to be, though.
Well, hopefully in the future, legal injuries are not a topic that we will need to dwell on. But they're college kids. It happens. Glad nobody was hurt. I guess. Are there any other injuries you can think of that we need to hit?
Not really. I think we talked about A.D. Mitchell and Aaron Smith and Tyke. So I think the only thing is, and we talked about Jalen Carter. Hopefully he's getting back full speed. I think that sounds about right. About it.
Well, I know that you have a charity engagement to get to, so I appreciate you squeezing us in.
All right, thank you, Dave. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, thanks, Dr. Snesser. We'll see you next week.
I'll see you next week, bud.
It's time for the breakdown with Bulldog Illustrated's Vance Levy.
And now we welcome Vance Levy from Bulldog Illustrated. What's up, my man?
Mad Dog, what is happening?
Man, I'm just happy to be here, happy that we're undefeated, happy that we're number one in the country, because I don't think we could say that this time last year, could we?
Nope. We held on to it for better or for worse, but, like you've already touched on, last week was not at all a bad thing. Kirby did warn us.
He did.
That team was very good, and they were impressive, man. They were hitting. That quarterback, I was like, he had Stetson wheels and an NFL arm. He was impressive.
He was. I was very impressed by all of them. And like I said, they were not intimidated by us. They didn't flinch, and it was just like whip the man in front of you.
Yep. Well, and like you said, Ladd, there's nothing. The guy had not made a mistake up until this game. So what's wrong with him diarrhea and then having them all in one game, right?
If you're going to do that, do it against Kent State.
Right. And
again, and he still led the team in receiving.
Yeah.
So he had 2 bad plays.
Well, and I kind of like it. It's fun to see Georgia fans like after the game, people, they want me to somehow tell them something that makes them feel better. And I'm like, listen, the other people they want to make good plays. They want to win too. And sometimes they make good plays, and thankfully they didn't win, but it's okay. They're not showing up just to let us roll them. Let's be clear about that.
Yeah, I mean the big check they get doesn't go to the players.
Yeah.
They want to come in there and say, that they whipped whoever it was they played. They want to be able to show their friends the film and say, "Hey, look here where I went up against whoever. Name a defensive lineman. I got the
Well, and
best of them on this play."
yeah, I was at something the night before the game, and Kirby spoke, and he had not changed his tune, trying to plead with people to understand. And he went as far to say uh, they were the best team they had faced as far as watching the film. So, like, and I told somebody this about a couple hours ago. He's like, "So you think they were better than Oregon?" I was like, "Well, with the film he watched, for sure." So,
And he had film of them against quality opponents like Oklahoma.
right, 10-3 at half out in Norman. I mean,
Yeah.
but I did just see his Kirby's report today, and of course he's dead on. He's like over 500 yards of offense. Hard to say it was a bad game. He had one other thing. Let me try to. Anyhow, I mean, he was just saying, when you look back at it, it's very hard to like be. It was a bad game. We did a lot of good things, and unfortunately, Javon Buller found himself in some trouble. But hopefully he'll. Whatever. I think Kirby said that obviously they're going to handle that internally, but that too is a lesson to the team that you got to watch your P's and Q's, and thankfully nothing harm came out of it other than a 19, 20-year-old making a poor decision after being out on Saturday night. Did you know anybody in college that had that happen?
No, I didn't know anyone. Most of my friends were in the library, trying to get ahead of their studies for the coming week. I will
I
say,
will often compare the football team to like a fraternity. There's roughly
yeah.
85 to 100 meatheads, and and without a doubt, there were 5 or 10. And thankfully, we don't even have that many right now that we're dealing with some scrapes.
Yep.
So, and sometimes you get away with them, and sometimes you don't.
And as typically happens, I'm sure he will come back from this suspension in the best shape of his life.
Yeah, and he's got a neat family. I've gotten to meet them. I think the Oregon, and then again the next game. So they're so pumped for where he is. So I mean, again, I had my scrapes, and thankfully I survived them.
Yeah, we both were fortunate to survive our time in Athens. And Javon he's from Millersville, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's
So
basically local guy.
little middle Georgia guy.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. We'll take him. So we got Missouri coming up. Mizzou. I don't like Mizzou. I like to call them Missouri. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, interesting enough, Kirby, just tonight talked about how, defensively their front, he called them massive and said they're always very physical. You said earlier nobody wants to coach Missouri, but, it wasn't too long ago that Gary Pickle had them very successful. And
I know.
yeah, and unfortunately, it would appear that Drinkwitz is probably not going to pan out, but they obviously Pinkle, wasn't it Pinkle? Yeah, Gary Pinkle.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a defensive guy. I forget where he is these days. I think he's somewhere. Is he at? Was he at Arkansas at one point or something? Anyhow,
wasn't Barry Odom in there?
Yeah, Barry Odom's there.
Yeah.
He might have retired, but
I think he did.
Yeah, but the defense, obviously their defense is carried over from those days. I'm with you. I hate the way Missouri lost because, as I wrote this week, I mean, what better way to try to come out of that disaster of a loss than to have the number one team come in, and that would fix things real quick to have a Donnybrook go late. So I think Georgia just has to jump on people. We've proven if fast starts, you can then make the other team realize, oh, we really weren't supposed to be in the game with these people. So, talent wise, we should be superior, but you can't be careless with the football.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll fix that little turnover issue, and like you said, jump on them early and just kind of impose our will, so that they won't give up, but they'll know that there's not going to win, and there's not a chance they're going to win, and they're fighting for dignity at that point.
Right, and I mean I'm interested to see Luther. We wanted him. I think
Yep.
I heard somewhere today that he did something on Twitter that made people think maybe he's disenchanted at Missouri. So they were speculating. It's on Dog Nation's noon deal, but they were speculating that perhaps Kirby was going to be recruiting him during the game.
Yeah, well, you can bet that Saban will at some point. He loves to pick receivers out of the portal. That's his specialty.
Sure. So far, the former Dog isn't lighting it up for the Tide so far, is he?
No, he definitely hadn't been lighting up the end zone. I think he had a modestly better game against Vandy, which, it's Vandy. So,
well, and if I'm Bama, I dang sure didn't want to play Arkansas after losing last week. That's going to be a fun one to watch. The SEC. There's a lot of good games this week. That's going to kind of sort of set the stage who the for reals and the pretenders are, and the Vol Nation is alive, baby.
Oh man, that's the biggest. That's the one game not the biggest game on our schedule that worries me. That in Kentucky.
Yeah. Well,
but they've been doing all that without their best receiver.
Right. Well, and I don't love having to play them after Florida. I think I finally asked Danzler. It's only happened one other time. I think it was in like the 70s where we played Tennessee the week before Georgia, Florida. So that's going to be weird.
That's going to be weird. And I'll tell you what, speaking of Florida, man, they didn't give up. I mean, they had a shot there till the very end. I mean, that was a wild one.
Yeah. And, I like their coach a lot. I think he's got football family, West Georgia guy. I guess his dad was a legend up there. And I mean, he's definitely what you see is what you get. And as we know, Florida can get good really quick. Which is why this year's, in my opinion, is so important to take advantage that everyone in the East, we have more depth than they do. Thus, we should take advantage of that because as the history books prove, we're not going to beat all these teams forever. I mean,
right.
There's going to be some games dropped here and there, but this year with the schedule we have, Mississippi State, Kentucky, November from Florida on, we'll get a test. That'll be the real deal.
Yes, it will. So that's when everybody's going to be back to their traditional nervous as they can be for the entire game. Right now we need to just savor these luxurious wins where second quarter everybody's relaxing, maybe not paying as much attention to the game as they typically would, which I hope is the case not only this week but the next three, really.
Well, and Stetson even got his first interception out of the way versus Kent State. So, it's funny. Last week I joked. I was like, I can't wait till when he throws an interception. People will be like, ooh! And I'm like, yes, quarterbacks throw interceptions.
We should put in Becker Vandergriff. He's not going to get us where we need to go. Drives me crazy.
I know. I had fun talking to one of his older brother or his uncle, his dad's older brother, but right before the game on Saturday. And they, of course, are having, the ride keeps on getting better for the Bennetts. And, they're loving that he's gotten the chance to prove what he has. And, I mean, somebody's going to draft him.
Absolutely.
I mean, You know,
Doug Flutie played in the NFL. A lot of
yeah.
guys smaller than him played in the NFL.
I mean, when you can make things happen with your feet and you're able to put the ball where it needs to be, I mean, everybody talked about, that awesome Bowers catch a couple weeks ago where he got his foot in. I mean, it was beautiful, but guess what? That ball was the only place it could be thrown for it to be a touchdown.
Right.
I mean, on the money. So
Right.
I'm definitely glad you're pushing him for Heisman.
I mean, am I the only one? I don't feel like I'm seeing the groundswell, or hearing the groundswell that I should be hearing. I mean, I guess it puts the university in a weird position because you're like, okay, do you do this too soon? We got
Right.
other players that could be as easily, with Brock, could be in the discussion who's got Heisman odds on the board. But of course we got another year with Brock. But we haven't really had a Heisman campaign since who Stafford maybe?
Right.
Not a real one since Herschel.
Right. Yeah. All of that will take care of itself. I mean,
Sure.
if he keeps doing what he's doing and we keep winning, and it may well come down to, if Tennessee continues, I don't know if you looked at their schedule, but it's about to get rough for the Vols. I mean,
they're going to get beat up.
Yeah. I mean, of course they have Alabama before us. I think that they're in Knoxville hearing how good they are this week off, but then they go to Baton Rouge.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think Alabama's not far. Third week in October. And, but is it Hooker? That's his last name. Their quarterback.
Yeah. Hendon Hooker.
Hendon. Yeah. But that he put up some gaudy numbers, both Florida and Tennessee, which I love because I mean that tells me their defenses are terrible.
Right.
But he stays on what he's doing. I mean the first Saturday in November could be kind of a Heisman separator.
Totally could. And Hooker, man, he puts up big numbers on the ground. I think he had over 100 yards rushing last week against Florida. And I'm just glad that game's going to be between the hedges.
Yep. And hopefully it'll be another 3:30.
Or a night game. What about a night game?
I like the 3:30s. They're perfect. Those are perfect. I wish it could be 4:30. That would be perfect.
Well, yeah, I guess as a writer, you want it to be a day game because if it's 7:30, you kind of lose a night.
Yeah. And I mean, like our photographers and I mean, poor old Danzler, when he and Butler are doing it, at least we're winning. But imagine what it's like for 2 hours after a night game when we've lost and you're taking calls from freaking people that are just have no business jumping on the phone.
It's like a 2-hour press conference that they put on with just, shots out of the dark. They don't know who they are. They don't know what they're going to say.
Yeah.
It's just brutal.
He of course loves the noon one.
Yeah, of course he does.
Yeah.
So you can get to the house at a decent hour and have a nice dinner.
Yeah.
So no concerns this week.
I'm always concerned.
Okay.
Like I said, the other team wants to win too. Yeah. So
I know, and I should feel that way, but for some reason, for this game, I'm just loose. I guess it's probably because of what I saw.
Right. Well, and then we've proven we like to go on the road.
Right.
Are
you going on the road?
I don't know yet. I've got 2 of our photographers going, so I'm covered for what I need. Our Auburn issue is going to be huge of Bulldog Illustrated, so 72 pages of fun are awaiting me Sunday. So me being able to watch games and work saves me. It makes it where my Sunday could be not white knuckled.
Well, and you'd be also traveling in a hurricane in and out of Atlanta, which would be
right. Like
mess.
I maybe had a seat on a plane going out of Athens, but I haven't even talked to the fellow to see if the weather. Because Saturday is going to be when we're getting nailed up here.
It sounds like a great day to just curl up with your remote control and just have a football frenzy.
I'm looking forward to it. I don't get to do it very often.
Yeah, me either. Me either. Well, Vance, thank you for joining us as always.
Yeah, well, and we didn't talk about it, but fundamental football is a simple thing, and Kirby Smart is teaching it. It's beat the you know what out of the man in front of you, and do your assignment, and good things can happen. And you know, I've been telling people it's other than last week, it's been fun to watch because there not very many people are out there taking plays off, and you know, we do something good. You don't have anybody acting like a jackass. I mean, you know, it's they give the ball back. You know, big whoop. You know, this is what you're supposed to be, and
Right.
it's so fun to watch.
Beat a snot bubble out of the guy in front of you is the name
Yes.
of the game.
Yes, make him where he does not want to see you ever again, like that poor little linebacker from Oregon that Brock Bowers road graded the entire freaking game.
I need to go back and rewatch it.
Oh my God, that poor guy was on skates. It was so awesome.
Oh, man. Well, again, Vance, stay safe this weekend. I hope you get to curl up with your remote, and I hope to talk to you next week.
Thanks, buddy. Go
All
Dogs.
right. Go Dogs.
It's time for this week's Lowdown with the Dog Bone Report.
From the Dog Bone, we have my friend Deke Wiggins, who's going to tell us a little bit about what's going on in his world. What's up, Deke?
Mad Dog. Go Dogs. Undefeated.
Go Dogs. Undefeated #1, baby.
Ever since I've been reconnected with you, we've been kicking some serious ass, like mostly #1.
I should have done this show years ago.
We should have done it when Ray Goff was our coach.
We should have started in 1990.
We might have got in the top 15.
We should have invented the podcast back then.
Oh man. Yeah, you should get Ray Goff on the show. I think he's back in good graces. It was never him. I mean, post his career, but I think he was reluctant. But yeah, he was at the national championship. I think he was at the Oregon game. So
yeah, I've seen him in a few games. I saw him at not Kent State. What was the other game that we had in Athens? Who do we play first?
Sanford.
Yeah, I saw him at that game. Yeah, he looks great. Now tell me real quick about this recruiting news you have.
Well, I just broke Tyler. We've kind of, I mean, it's people say we struggled recruiting receivers, but the guys on our team are good. So, I mean, you know, right. We seem to be, I mean, A.D. Mitchell and Ladd were not high recruits, and they're studs, you know, minus Saturday's performance by Ladd. But the, you know, conception or some people think we're struggling. But anyway, we got a 4-star receiver out of South Florida, was considered in Miami. Unfortunately, he went to the Miami game Saturday, and they lost to Middle Tennessee State and had about 10,000 people there max. But he's 6'4", 210, runs a 4.4.
Oh,
and
wow.
I just read you know, these like rivals in 24/7, they a lot of times they know prior when a commitment's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they don't, if they think it's going to happen, they'll have a story for if he commits or you know, who he commits to. And so they had quotes from the guy, and he's like, what are your strengths? He's like, I'm uncoverable. I'm like, don't worry.
I'd call that a strength.
I'm 6'4" and I can fly. So I like that.
Now, is he a senior this year? Or
yeah.
Okay,
he's
good.
A senior.
Love to add that to the mix.
Yeah, no doubt. And I don't worry too much about recruiting since we've had Kirby, but it's always nice to, you know, bring a good one in. I mean, it seems like on defense, we recruit better than anybody, and we have for a few years, and it's obvious why. But On offense, maybe receiver, there's room for improvement, but hell, the guys we have are good. We just got to keep getting more of them.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk to our in-house recruiting guru, Anthony Foster, about that. I don't know if you saw a couple of the shows we had with Anthony, but man, he gets down into the weeds. He's looking at he's not worried about 2023. He's worried about 2026. He's a guy.
I can't do that.
I can't either. That's just the way he's built, though. That's he loves that stuff.
When I see their class is, if it's past 2023, I'm like, what's the point? Because they're probably going to commit to 2 or 3 schools. I mean, nowadays, but recruiting seems good. Dogbone, we got tons of recruiting updates. Field Street Forum is probably our best blogger for recruiting updates, and he's got probably 8 to 12 every morning or most mornings on the site.
So just to refresh everybody on how the Dogbone works, you're kind of an aggregator of Bulldog sports news, and during the season, obviously, it's about dogs football. So are these folks? Is this the way it works? Like, Bulldog Illustrated, they send you an article, or are you guys going and pulling that, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's automatic. Like Bulldog Illustrated, all their articles get pulled automatically. Site's been around, believe it or not, since 2003, so it's been a while. Initially, I was manually doing it, and we figured out a way to automatically retrieve a bunch of them. And now that the technology keeps changing, there are some sites that don't, like Dog Nation. We manually add those throughout the day. There's a few others, but the majority of the site is not our original content. It's articles from all the UGA football blogs, all the UGA football sites. But we do have some original content. We've got two columnists. One is Daryl Huckabee, who's written like 2 or 3 books about UGA. He writes 2 columns a week for Georgia,
right?
Sometimes even more. But he writes a Sunday column after each game, and then he writes a pick'em column on usually Thursday or Friday. And then we also have a photographer who has passes to all the home games, and he goes to pretty much close games. Like he went to the Oregon game. If we play in the SEC championship. So yeah, I mean, it's a free site. That's the cool thing about it. Most of the stuff online you have to pay for these days, and our site's always been free. In fact, if occasionally we'll accidentally automatically retrieve an article that it's a pay site, and somebody points that out, we'll remove it. So yeah, that's the whole thing. It's free, and it's been popular.
Haven't you replicated it though for all SEC schools? Like there's an Auburn version and a Bama version.
Yeah, we have. So yeah, there are, and some of them are more popular than others. The Bama one gets some clicks. The Auburn, but honestly, what we found out is most of the people going to those sites are Georgia fans that want to read about who we're playing or whatever. So,
right.
Me and Bert and Charles Jones and Stephen Ham are the 4 that are invested in it. I started the site, but I mean, I really think the popularity of the site is because it's obviously run by Georgia fans.
Right.
So the other sites are still out there, but they're not. We have in the past have had some like younger college age or a little bit older. Like we had a Florida fan that ran the site for a little while, but it's just the traffic's, it's more just a extra benefit for Georgia fans. I mean, that's really our focus is just the Georgia site, the dogbone.com.
So have you guys already started planning your 20th anniversary gala for next year, since it was started in the year 2003? I know black tie event somewhere.
I don't even know if we acknowledge the 10-year, which is kind of sad. We need to do something.
You need to do
We
something.
Yeah, we all every year we all we use some of the revenue to pay for a really nice week in Jacksonville. Well, we went to St. Simon's for years, and then
Mhm.
last year and this year we actually are going to Ponte Vedra for the game, the Georgia Florida game.
Well, I'm not even suggesting you pay for anything other than like have people get together just to celebrate the fact that you guys have done this and have been doing it for 20 years, and it's unique and it's cool. And I mean, like I said, I mean, forever. I think from 2007. I think 2007 was when I first heard about the dog bone. And I asked a friend, I said, "Where's the one place I can go to get everything I need to know about Georgia football?" And he said, "Oh, it's the dog bone." So 2007 to 2021, 14 years, I'm going to the site. I'm recommending this site to people when they ask me that same question. And I don't even find out that it's you guys until last year, which was just a super happy
That's
surprise. Isn't that crazy?
that is crazy. That I mean, because I know you and Bert have been in contact the whole time. That's bizarre. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you would really know unless you
No, you wouldn't. And he
kind of
probably he
did.
probably assumed that I knew.
Yeah, no doubt. But we all tailgate for the home games. We have a really nice spot. That it's a on campus church that's right off of it's on Lumpkin. And we've had that for years. So maybe we'll throw something for a big game next year and then just say, stop by. We
Yeah,
need to acknowledge that for sure. And um,
that'd be
but
easy.
yeah, it's been a wild ride for sure. But you know, it's a labor of love, no doubt
Oh
about it.
yeah, and all your hard work's paid off, and now we're in the good old days with it. We're in the heyday. I think
Right.
it's going to last as long as Kirby's our coach, and so it looks like we've got 10 years in front of us.
Well, I don't know if I ever told you. I'm pretty sure I haven't. But so when I went to my first Georgia game when I was 6, and it was 79. We played Virginia, and they beat us 31-0. And I went. My best friend, his dad went to Georgia. His granddad went to Georgia. They're from Lincoln County, and they went all the games. So that was the first game. And then in 1980, when I was 7, I went to every home game, and we had Herschel, and
Wow.
and so I was like, I was just blown away. I mean, at 7 years old, and you go to every single home game. In
And
fact,
Herschel's a superhero. Herschel might as well be
he
Superman.
he was Superman, and
Yeah.
even the national championship, uh, my buddy he didn't go. His parents went. He stayed with me, and um, yeah, it was just like from then on, I went to every game. So I went to a couple games without my friend, just with his parents. In fact, I flew to LSU and Lexington when I was in high school with his dad.
Wow. That's
The
special.
and the another little funny story is in 1982 when we were number one and went undefeated. We were playing Penn State for the national championship. Um, his parents, they were going to take us. When we were 7, we weren't old enough, but we were 9. So of course that's a proper age to take a kid to New Orleans, sure, right? And so they asked my parents without me knowing, and my parents were surprising us with a trip to Disney World. And so they told my buddy's parents that that I couldn't go because of this trip. And then my buddy's dad just let it out like before Christmas. I was so pissed. The whole Disney trip, I was just pissed. And we went to Disney in a RV that my dad rented, and we watched the national championship on a TV about that big. And I still tell my dad I could have made the difference in that game just by being there.
Right.
Just
Exactly.
my volume of yelling would have possibly won that game, and that was the biggest disappointing loss for probably till we lost to Bama or maybe Florida in 2002. I mean, we've had several, but that for years that was the one that cost us the national championship.
Mm. Man, I did not realize that you grew up going to so many just classic games.
Yeah, and then when I went to Georgia, it was probably the worst stretch of Georgia football. Well, there's no doubt about it. I mean, since before Vince Dooley, I started at 91 and I graduated in the winter of 96. We just hired Donnan. And so, I mean, God bless Ray Goff, but that was a rough stretch, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that was it. If we even played Tennessee and Florida within 14 points, that was,
a moral victory. Yeah. It was rough. It was brutal.
You were there.
Oh yeah, I was there. Still working out in therapy, and watching us these days is extremely therapeutic,
right?
Because we put our time in.
But the cool thing about that is that, as bad as it was a pretty short stretch when you compare it to some of our rivals. I mean, Tennessee specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've been bad they haven't finished in the top 10 in, I think, like 20 years, at least 15.
Oh yeah. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt my feelings a bit.
No.
A bunch of orange clad hillbillies. Serves them right.
Yeah, well, they're high right now, but I know Vance pretty well because just through the websites, and I listen to him, and they do have a tough stretch for sure. When I saw we were playing Florida and Tennessee back to back, that blew my mind too. I was like, I mean, those are our two. I still, even though Tennessee's been down, I consider those our two biggest games to win the East.
Mm-hmm.
But Tennessee plays Kentucky the week before we play them, and they play Alabama the week before that. So it's not like they're going to come in, fresh. They're going to be beat up. And
yeah, they are.
Hooker's hurt right now, and if they keep running him as much as they did, he's going to be real beat up by the time they play us. But that's going to be a rocking game for sure.
Oh yeah, that's the game of the year as far as Georgia's home schedule goes by far.
Yeah,
because it ain't gonna be Tech.
No, it's not gonna be Tech.
That'll be a get well game.
Yeah, unless they can hire Deion Sanders before that game, then
I mean
that might be a tough ticket.
Who's in the rumor mill right now? I heard Deion's name's thrown around. Who else?
I don't know. I mean,
that's not a fit.
I was actually on the road all day today, so I listened to XM radio, and every 3 hours or 2 hours they have a new show, and every show brought up Deion Sanders to Tech without any knowledge, just about because of his connection to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have a guest on. They had the show that Rick Neuheisel was on had, I forgot the guy's name. He used to be the Georgia Tech announcer, and his dad was a longtime announcer too. He's from Atlanta, but he knows what's going on. And they asked him straight up, would that be a good fit? And he's like, honestly, I don't think so, because of the Tech's would have to really change their some of their academic stuff and just the way they view football, some of the investments,
mm-hmm.
They've got a big decision to make. Do they want to continue to, do they want to go down the path of big time college football, or at least try to, or do they just want the academics to be the main thing, because they're going to get so left behind in facilities and just kind of commitment. And they already have kind of, but on the flip side, they're right there in the heart of probably the most fertile recruiting area in the nation. I mean, right there with like Miami and LA and Dallas and maybe even more. But I mean, who wants to go play at Tech in front of 15,000 nerds? When you could go to Georgia or any other big school, that really takes it seriously. So they're in a tough spot, which is fine with me.
Yeah, me too. I struggle with whether I even want to play them. I mean, it's great to beat up on them, But, once every 10 years, they'll come up and ruin a season. And is it better for us to be playing Clemson or somebody like that? Notre Dame.
Yeah. I'm with you. And I can't believe that I would think that now, but it's so lopsided that I don't think there's any way they can beat us unless they run a kind of a gimmicky offense. The way things are set up, I mean, things can change for sure, but the way the series is right now, I would be fine if Georgia said, "Look, we'll play you home twice to away once, and take it or leave it."
Or
something that's that's it shouldn't be. I mean, it really doesn't matter. When we play them away, we're in 80% of the stadium, but I think that drives them crazy too. But they're on the verge of getting past, and they might have already got past by Georgia State and Georgia Southern.
Yeah, I mean, they're almost past the point of no return as far as that program goes, and you're right. They're kind of at a crossroads. They got to make a decision. Are we even going to try and be a football school? Which, if they just completely, shuttered their football program, that would be hilarious. But I mean, it's something for them to consider. I mean, are they making money off of it? I mean, every time I go into Dick's, there's not much Georgia stuff, but there's plenty of Tech stuff because nobody's buying it. I mean, who wants to buy any Tech merch?
Yeah. It'll be interesting to follow for sure. But yeah, what's funny is, I mean, I only really remember the games we lost to them.
Yeah.
Which is only about, a handful.
Phantom fumbles and things like that.
Yeah. Ray Goff actually won his last 5 against Tech. So
there you go.
That was the one thing that he could do.
Right. That was his specialty.
Yeah.
Well, Deke, man, it's always a pleasure to have you on, hear all your insight and all the things that you're able to see and hear by virtue of, not only your love for the dogs, but by running the Dog Bone. And man, I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Thanks for having us. Thanks for promoting the site, and, let's keep doing it. And I'll jump on anytime I can.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
Let's go in the basement with Buffalo.
Buffalo, what's up?
Hey, I had a nice, relaxing vacation last week. I got my thoughts together.
Good.
As I was off. Enjoyed myself.
Well, I covered for you. I told everybody you were on special assignment, working on a scathing expose.
I was. We can't talk. That'll come out later in the season.
Okay, good.
Try to go incognito on all that.
Good. Yes. Let's do that. Let's keep that under wraps.
Yes, sir.
So what are you thinking? What are you feeling?
The Kent State game, just a moment on that. I agree with your earlier point about Ladd. I think I heard there were a few boo birds in the stadium, maybe even during his miscues. Come on, man. We can't. I mean, that guy's money. So we can't be doing that, man, to that guy.
Right.
He's a integral part of this thing, and he's done nothing but greatness for us. So we need to, like you said, man, a 19, 20-year-old that has a little bit of a rough day, man. Let's lay off of him on social media, and he'll pay dividends as he always has.
Absolutely. Could not agree more with that.
Yeah. And who were you wanting the nickname for? Earlier,
Smile London.
Oh, okay. Well, I've jotted down a few.
Okay, yeah, let's hear them.
And I might try a little Chris Berman on these nicknames. If
do it.
Okay.
Oh yeah, do it.
I don't know now if this is not the greatest. Y'all tell me, but I'll start off. I jotted them down so I don't have them committed to memory. Smile. Munden, bloody Munden. if you will, Mad Dog. Smile Munden Bridge is falling down. Smile, you're on a candid camera Monday. Well, maybe. Smile, rainy days and London will always get you down.
That's it. That's the one. That's the one he would pick. That was a dead, just spot on Berman.
Okay, well, you asked for a few nicknames. I jotted them down, and I thought in the honor of Chris Berman, I would do them that way.
Yeah, and I can't figure out, do you play off the smile or do you pay off the Munden?
I don't know. Maybe your viewers can expound on his nickname this week and send some.
Someone far more creative than me can come up with something.
Yeah, those were just some of the ones off the top of my head.
Yeah, well, I haven't had an original thought maybe ever. So as far as the nickname game goes, I don't know if I'm the guy, but certainly we can come up with something for that guy because he's been playing awesome. He has been playing really well, and it's great to see these young guys just getting in there and throwing down. I mean, it's like you said. I'm glad you read out some of those numbers because it's trying to relearn this roster this year, especially defensively, has been kind of a chore. I feel sometimes I'm like, who? And they watching the game, who's that? I'm like, and usually last year and the year before, you knew everybody. So we're just getting to know a whole new crop that's carrying the torch. And I think they learned under the guys before them. And it's an exciting season, and I'm not worried about Missouri at all this week. Yeah, I'm not either. I just picture, I don't like the feel of their stadium just from what I see on TV. It's like the fans are removed from the field. They're not close enough to the field. It's weird. And every time you watch it on TV, it's almost like the sound is muted. You can't even hardly hear them, even when they're doing good. It's just odd. Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of space around. You see a lot of air when the camera, I can't remember that state. Is one of the end zones or both clear? I can't remember. Are they bowled in or are they cleared out? Is there no stands on the end zones? Nobody knows because nobody cares. Nobody goes there. You're not been there? I haven't either, and I don't have a desire to go. I know they used to have that old 1960s diamond pattern deal in the end zone. I don't know if they're running that this year, but it looked like an old, John Hadel running the San Diego Chargers circa 1964 end zone with the weird logos that said Missouri and then Tigers on the other end. So it does have an old, kind of like Stegman used to be before they upgraded the lighting. In our basketball games, right? Dark. And Mississippi State always used to be like that in basketball. It's so dark and it's dreary, and the games were usually that way. And they just kill you to sit there and watch them on TV. I don't think I went to a single basketball game when I was at Georgia. That's terrible, but I don't think I did. Well, I went to several. When Shaq was in town, I went always, and he usually went to Kentucky, and I used to go see the other teams, right? Which is an ugly endorsement on our team. I don't mean to disparage Hugh Durham, but our teams were okay back then. But the biggest mystery in all of UGA sports is why we can't consistently put a good product on the court in basketball. And I'm hopeful because I got nothing else but hope in this new coach that he's going to turn things around. Well, you and I both. I don't know. He did okay at Florida. I mean, he was a weird pick. Yeah, he was another weird pick. Yeah, it's like coaching football at basketball at Georgia is like coaching football at Missouri. Nobody wants to do it. You know what I mean? Got that right. And I heard you and Deke talking about Tech. I saw a list that had both Jeff and had both Monken brothers on the list, and I can't imagine wanting that job. Unless you just wanted to live in Atlanta and get a good check until you got fired, which, hey, that's kind of the MO for a lot of coaches these days.
Well, and they got to give the next guy, a little bit of time
Yeah.
because things are so bad now. So maybe you can just bankroll a bunch of money
So I
until
mean,
the
but
axe falls.
what was Collins' buyout? It was millions.
$11 million, I believe. So that's
I-
why I think that's why the athletic director got cranked.
for that deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, what a deal. I mean, you come in, you do terrible. Hey, we're so sick of you doing terrible. We want you to leave. Here's 11 million bucks.
That's
So,
a
I mean,
pretty good nice gig, right?
sign me up. I think I could have done as well as he did.
Yeah, and I think I also heard, I didn't know this, but I heard today on the radio that Collins came to work Monday and nobody really told me. He just showed up to work like Raphael Belliard used to come to the Braves spring training, even though they kind of released him. He just kept showing up and saying, if I show up, they won't let me go. I'll just have a position. But he shows up and I guess they're like, you didn't tell him, you didn't tell him. So they finally had to be like, hey, man, you're fired.
They get the janitor to tell him.
Exactly. It's kind of an awkward situation. Because I thought I knew he was fired Sunday night, but I guess he didn't. So he went to work.
Well, it's like Harsin. They talk about firing him for so long, you just think it's not going to happen until it does. I mean,
Exactly.
who does Auburn have this week? Is it LSU at LSU?
I think so. Yeah. And I don't know, man. I don't think they're going to make it through that one either.
They're going to pull a Lane Kiffin and just tell him to stay on the tarmac at the airport.
That's right. Well, they got another miracle. They got, what's up with Jordan Hare? I mean, how many strange things could happen in that building? I mean, they got a gift the other day.
Oh, absolutely gift wrapped. I could not believe what I was watching.
I'm just glad it didn't happen to me. That's what I said when I saw that. I go, man, if we lost a game like that, I might just, I don't know what I'd do.
I would be on a suicide watch. I mean, but over there it doesn't matter because they know that they're not going to have a great season. I mean, the expectations are low. This is almost a lost season. They're like, let's suck. Let's get rid of Harsin. He was a weird choice to begin with. I mean, why you bring in? I'm going to use the Y word here, but why do you bring a Yankee into the deep South to coach at Auburn, which is dysfunctional to begin with because it's not even run by their administration. It's run by a bunch of rich rednecks. So, I mean, it's just odd. You know, I mean,
I think as odd as Brian Kelly. There's another example, the same thing. And I just hope they continue to waller in the swamp with his under his command, because I just don't see him with LSU. I don't know. I know the national media thought it was great, but I just don't. He's a Yankee down in LSU, and that doesn't seem like it's going to mix to me.
Yeah, I mean, a Yankee in Cajun country, those people are just a whole nother breed to begin with. And he is an absolute not a fit. I think that was just because of their AD likes to make a big splash. He couldn't get Lincoln Riley, so he had to get a name. And Brian Kelly saw the handwriting on the wall. He beat Newt Rockne for most wins. He knew he was never going to be able to compete for a championship in Notre Dame. So he was like, hey, they're going to back the Brinks truck up. I'll take their money to run.
Exactly. I mean, hey, who's laughing now? I mean, I'm saying that, but he's a lot better off than I am as I sit here in the basement. I don't have any buyouts.
Me either.
I actually refinished my own bathroom this weekend. That's where I am. So whatever. Who am I to make fun of Brian Kelly and Jeff Collins?
Well, same goes for me, but somebody's got to make fun of them, and it's not like it's not like we're the only ones.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know what? Brian Kelly could easily be undefeated right now.
He could be.
Now he's got the meat in front of him of his schedule.
Yeah, and you're right. And he's gonna lose some games coming up. He's got some big OLs following him. But one thing I'll say about them is apparently they were complaining about not getting the 3:30 on the October 8th game where we got it against Auburn, and then Alabama gets the night game, and LSU's all been out of shape. They're a nooner.
Who do they think they are?
I know. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, beat FSU on week 1, and maybe you have a little bit of a case, but you can't dictate. I mean, yeah, who do you think you are?
Right.
The nerve
Brian
of these
Kelly,
pages.
the nerve of these people. Do something first, Brian Kelly. We don't care what happened at Notre Dame with your nobody nothing schedule of has-been logos.
Yeah. Okay, and then what else? Oh, Tennessee, man. Now Tennessee's just on cloud 9. Now they just beat. I don't know if everybody realizes this. It's been out there. I said it 2 weeks ago that Florida was 2-9 over their last 11 SEC games. Now they're 2-10. Is that reason to think you're back, Josh Heupel? Really?
That's a great point. That's a great stat. I'm glad you brought that back up.
I mean, I'm not. I think Tennessee will bust a couple on us. I'm not that stupid to think they won't. I mean, they're gonna. They didn't have their big receiver Tillman last week. He was out, and he's a big threat. And I think that they will hit us. But I think what do we have? 1 punt in the Oregon game, 0 punts against Kent State. I look for the over/under in our punts in the Tennessee game to be about 1.5. That's where I would set the line on that. I don't think they're going to stop us. They'll score some, but I think we're going to score big whenever we get to that point. I'm not trying to jump ahead, but
No, that's fine, because that's, again, the biggest worry on my schedule is 1A is Tennessee, 1B is Kentucky. Mainly because of Hooker. I mean, I just think he's such just a difference maker with his feet.
He is, and with our young defense. But I'm glad we're playing him November 5th, because as we were talking, as y'all were talking earlier, he'll probably be a little more beat up then, especially the teams he's got to play coming up. And I think our younger defense will have a lot more experience, and hopefully we can, counteract a little bit of his footwork when we see him in early November.
Yeah, you're right. We'll have a ton of tape on him. We might have to spy him.
Maybe. Yep. Well, I guess we'll see if he's still walking by then.
Yeah. So they got Alabama. Did they play Kentucky before they play us?
No. Well, I say that. I think they don't. They usually, and now usually it doesn't work anymore, but they usually play Kentucky this second to last game of the year, and I think they are after us. Usually they close out with Vanderbilt, and they play Kentucky right before that. So I don't know if that's still holding true, but I don't think that's on their schedule until after we play them.
Gotcha. I'm like, I can't wait for that to get here. But at the same time, I'm like, no, I don't want that to get here. I want it to stay fall. I want it to stay September. Like, I'm glad the heat's about to break, but you blink your eyes and the season's over, and we're just languishing till next year.
That's exactly right. I mean, the fall season rips through faster than any other part of the year, and the summer's the slowest. When we're dragging up to it, it seems like it's never going to get here. And then when it gets here, I'm always like, man, we're halfway through our schedule. Where'd it go?
You're right. I mean, we're a third of the way through it. I mean, September, as far as football goes, in the rearview mirror for us.
Exactly. And we need to savor. As I said, we're not always going to be in this position, I guess, unless the Mad Dog Show continues on years and years into the future. Maybe this just rolls on.
I'm really taking care of myself these days. I'm down to one vice, chewing tobacco, and my family's threatening to break me of that, which I don't think that would be very nice.
That's right. Well, I quit that. I had that one for years and years, as many people maybe watching this show know I was one of the bigger ones, but I finally shook that one.
How did you do it? I mean, it's more addictive than heroin or Oxycontin. Not that I'm ever tried either one of those, but from what I hear,
prayer
and meditation.
when the dentist throws up pictures of your mouth on a 60-inch TV in front of you and starts doing a PowerPoint on why you need to quit all this, it'll get your attention.
But that doesn't help me. That's fine. They're scaring you.
Well,
like, did you get on gum? Did you get on a patch? Was it hypnosis? Or what? All of it? What
I
did
did the what's the weird drug? I don't
Chantix?
know. Yes, I did that one. The one that gives you nightmares that you killed all these people.
Right.
I did that.
How was that?
And it does give you horrific nightmares. I had to dose down a little bit on that thing because it was every night was an evening with Charles Manson. So I gave up. I that helped. That worked. And then I kind of slipped up on a fishing trip one time, and then I kind of started back. But then I don't know, the Zen, a little Zen pouch thing,
Right,
they'll work. It's not the same, but it'll get you through.
You can never go in. I know this. You can never go inside a convenience store. You have to pay for your gas at the pump. You cannot go inside because those little discs are calling your name from behind the cash register lady.
They are, and they've gone up twofold since the last time I bought. I look at the prices. I'm always looking when I'm at the counter, like, oh, look, there's some Copenhagen back there, and it's like $7 a can now. So I'm happy when I turn away and leave.
Right? Yeah, you're like, think of all the money I've saved, except it's
or
gone.
All the money I lost 30 years before that.
Right, but you're not saving any money. It's just going in your gas tank.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, that's another story.
It always finds a home.
Yeah.
Well, should we try and bring our gambling guru Dogger on the show?
I think so. Let's see what the Dogger's got.
All right.
We need some money, man.
Let's see if we can bring him, the mystery man. Dogger, are you with us? We can't hear Dogger. I know he was sheltering in place from our
Mad Dog. I am here.
There he is. There he is.
What's
He's
up?
alive. We're glad you're here with us, man. I know that the hurricane has been an issue with you, but you're in an undisclosed location.
Yeah, absolutely. I have some family that had to desert their place, Anna Maria Island, and get up here. And it was a struggle to get up here, but happy to have them here. And so now you have two new watchers.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm sure that the only reason they're going to be watching is to hear your gambling prowess.
Well, that proud, all that great so far.
Well, we don't have to focus on your results as much. It's just all the fun insight that you have.
I have to give my updates.
All right, let's hear it.
Always a great show. Let's see. By the way, I was going to say Bobber's interpretation earlier. It had a lot of Buck Hurley in it. Not so much ESPN dude.
I appreciate it, Fred. I appreciate it, Dogger. How'd you do last week?
Yeah, I hear you. So I always give an update on the dogs. With dogs winning 39-22. Kent covered, unfortunately, by 28, and the total went under by half a point.
Wow.
So one thing I haven't mentioned on the show before, it's always good to buy the hook. So I talked to another friend of ours in Atlanta, and he said, Craig, remember to tell them to buy the hook.
Now explain to our viewers and listeners what you mean when you refer to a hook.
Exactly. So the total in the Georgia game was 61.5. And so the total ended up being 61. So if you're in Vegas and you want to buy the half, you can buy it. You spend an extra 10%, and that would have allowed you to push instead of having a loser. So it's always, in my opinion, always good to buy the hook when you think it's going to be close to, Vegas has it correct to the total.
So just for the folks who may not be, gamblers, the hook is the half a point.
That is correct.
And when you push, what is it that you do?
You lose nothing. Zero. It's a push.
Exactly.
Nope.
My mom may be listening. I want her to understand.
Recap from last week. We're getting a little bit better, but the Thursday night cracker went 1-1. Coastal Carolina blew out Georgia State. I had Georgia State it did go over. Got a little concerned on that, but 1-1, but it's still a loss because you have to win both sides of that. SEC straight ups, they went 1-1-1. Missouri covered, crazy fumble there at the end to beat Auburn, or maybe possibly could have beat Auburn. And then Tennessee didn't hang on to cover against Florida. And the push obviously was A&M, with Arkansas missing that field goal with it hitting the top of the pylon and not going through.
That's the kind of stuff that just drives gamblers crazy, isn't it? I mean, stuff like, the Missouri game and the field goal in the Arkansas game, getting the top of the field goal.
You're right. Absolutely. They're bad beats. I mean, you watch it on ESPN with Stanford Steve. I love that little episode where they do bad beats.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so much fun. I mean, I don't pay attention to that random Arkansas State or somebody getting a bad beat at the last second. But yeah, they pay attention to it just because Stanford Steve is the gambler. So let's see, we're 1-1 on those. The 10-team, another rest of the recap, the 10-team Monster Cracker that would pay $7.50 to 1. That one's 4-6, which last week was 3-7. So I'm gaining on it. I'm getting better.
Okay.
It's early in the season. And then, so let's go into this week. Thursday night parlay. I'm going to do this every week, a Thursday night parlay, just because it's early in the week and I can kind of have a sense, or at least try to have a sense for when we're doing on Tuesday night, what's going on Thursday night. So I'm going to go I'm going to go Utah State plus 24 against BYU. And then under in that game, under 60.5. And for that, if you bet $10, you win $30. It's a 3-1, and you must win both sides.
Okay.
Any opinion, Bobber? I need like Bert last week.
I don't know a lot about Utah State, but
all right, and then 3 SEC.
BYU had they got a handle by Oregon, which was kind of a good sign for us, I thought.
I agree.
But I'm not sure on Utah State, so I don't have an opinion necessarily gambling on that.
Fair enough. You'll probably have an opinion on these next three. So I'm always going to do 3 straight up SEC picks. So Ole Miss is minus 6.5 against Kentucky. And I am taking Ole Miss minus 6.5.
Ole Miss is home,
that's at Ole Miss minus 6.5 against Kentucky. I'm taking Ole Miss.
Wow.
All right.
Alabama is minus 17.5 against Arkansas at Arkansas. I'm taking Arkansas plus 17.5. And then you have Mississippi State minus 3.5 against A&M. I know A&M didn't look good, but they won the game. I'm going to take A&M plus 3.5.
Those all sound solid. You're not as contrarian. Woo! You're not as contrarian this week as you were last week.
Like I said, Mad Dog, it's early in the season. I was only 2 weeks into it, so
you're still getting your feet up under you. I
am. And then my 3-team college football teaser, and these are all going to be totals. Okay, they just seem like they're kind of bouncing all over the place. Wisconsin against Illinois, the total is 43.5. I'm going over, so I move it 10 points, going over 33.5. And then Baylor playing Oklahoma State, the total is 56.5. I'm going over 46.5. I'm looking forward to watching that game. That should be a good game. And then Florida State, this line looks crazy to me as far as the total. Florida State 66 total against Wake. I'm going to go under 76.
Do you have an over under for Michigan, Iowa?
Well, I can get one real quick. I don't have it written out here.
What is it,
do have
12?
a bet on that.
Let's put Buffalo on that. Buffalo,
Well,
give us.
talk to Buffalo real quick. I can find it real fast.
No,
Well, Iowa actually scored last week a little bit, but they've I think the first 2 weeks they scored 2 safeties and a field goal for 7.
Yep.
And then the next week they scored 7, right? I think they scored a touchdown somehow. I don't know. And then I think this past week, did they score 24 or 7 maybe?
They exploded.
Yeah, they went crazy. They went arena ball on who they were playing. I don't know who they were playing, but I did notice that score. But I would be really shy to bet an over of any kind in an Iowa game if it was much over 10.
Well, I mean, it's Michigan, so that adds a little layer of complexity to it.
Okay, 13.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's going to be a weird number. That's why I'm curious as to what it is.
Are you talking about the total?
I'm talking about the total.
Minus 10.5 in the game. Hold on, I'll get you a total. I had the Michigan's favored by 10.5, and the total is 42.
Okay, yeah.
Michigan 40,
but that's
Iowa
not one
2.
of my
31-10.
Say that again.
31-10.
Yeah.
Michigan.
Well, I have Iowa, so I'll go ahead and finish my 10-team cracker that'll pay you $750 to 1.
Okay.
That's what it ended up paying last week.
Okay.
The one I went 4 and 6 on. So here are my 10. You have Louisville minus 15.5 against Boston College. Boston College plus 15.5. Air Force minus 14 against Navy. Air Force, they're really good this year. So Air Force minus 14.
All right.
Michigan minus 6 against Iowa. Iowa at home plus 6.
I like it.
All right, you're taking the Hawkeyes.
Yeah,
there, huh?
I'm not a fan of.
You always loved Hayden Fry back in the old days.
What's that?
You always loved Hayden Fry back in the old days.
I did, but I'm not a big fan of
Yeah,
you
you
and
even
I.
bought a pair of those little square sunglasses like he had. Anyway, go ahead.
You're exactly right. We didn't like when we crossed over to Michigan or we went into Iowa. We didn't like either place, but Arkansas, Alabama's total is 61. I'm going over 61. Iowa State is minus 3.5 against Kansas. I am going Iowa State. I think the Kansas run ends.
I agree. I like it.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Kansas
I
is
just
hot,
what's his name, Leopold or something like that.
Yeah, that's got to end.
Yeah, it's got to end. Fresno State minus 24. This actually, well, never mind. I'm not going to say that because it's a jinx. Fresno State minus 24 against UConn. UConn plus 24.
That's intriguing. That's just so off the radar, those two teams.
And then we have Texas minus 10 against West Virginia. Just because family is up there, not who's here right now, but just because family's up there, they like West Virginia. So we're going West Virginia.
JT Daniels shows up.
JT Daniels, he looked good last week.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you have Maryland minus 7.5 against Michigan State. Michigan State, this is a contrarian one right here because Michigan State's looked terrible.
Awful.
I'm just hoping that and that's at home at Michigan State. I'm just not that I like that one a lot, but I'm hoping that Michigan State shows up.
I hate it for Mill, but it ain't working out this year.
Yeah, you're right, Bobber.
Man, that is the most contrarian pick of the whole 10. Was that?
It is, which I mean, sometimes you have to do that. That's why Vegas is Vegas.
So $10 wins you.
Wait.
Okay,
hold on. I have 2 more.
Okay.
Yeah, Coastal Carolina minus 10 against Southern. I'm going to go Southern on a rebound plus 10. And then a team, I've been talking to a bunch of guys over in Columbus that are big Auburn fans. LSU -9 against Auburn at home. I mean, they've told me, not that I even asked, they just all said Auburn is terrible.
So
that's my 10.
So 750 to 1, $20 wins you 15 grand.
In that case, 1552.
Got 52 more bucks.
Huh?
Got 52 more bucks to go to Red Lobster with.
15,052. $100 wins you 75,000.
Yeah, that's correct.
In theory.
In theory. I mean,
Tough
so I went
bet
3 and
to
7.
bring home, though.
What's that?
That's a tough bet to bring home, but
Well, you never know.
risk a little, win a lot. Have fun while you're doing it.
You're not going to
Exactly.
find that in the stock market.
You're not.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's worth throwing out there. And I'm nowhere near saying I know. I mean, so I went 3 and 7, now 4 and 6. So maybe next week I go 5 and 5. By the end of the season, I go 10 and 0.
There you go. Maybe this week, man. Not at the end of the season. Right now.
I mean, I feel that something about these picks this week, I just feel like he may have just nailed it.
I love it, D-Dub.
It could be the hurricane factor, with the added, energy in his house.
Yes, right. Air pressure.
They definitely brought some energy. I had to cook out of nowhere. I had to just come up, create recipes, and so this was done a lot faster. And I asked family about his opinion, and I think he knows what he's doing.
Interesting. That's you got me thinking. You got me thinking about not betting.
That's always a smart thing.
You never lose. But I mean,
this hurricane, the air pressures are going haywire. I think it may have injected Craig into being you're right. I think this one has a chance. I'm calling 8-2 at the worst on that 10-team mega cracker.
I think you're right. I mean, it's going to come down to Fresno State and UConn, and it's going to come down to maybe Maryland and Michigan State. Those are the two.
My family is here. Really likes Maryland.
They really.
No, excuse me.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I misspoke. Really likes Michigan State. Sorry.
Okay. I can't argue with that. Yeah. I just want to know the logic on the call of UConn and the Fresno State Bulldogs.
We'd be on the call for another 20 minutes.
There's a lot of data that got crunched to come up with that pick.
There is.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Dogger, for your expert picks as always, and thank you, Buffalo, for your expert insight.
Thank you very much.
You're spot on, Chris Berman.
Yeah, let's see how we do there in Columbia this week, and we got to go to that crappy stadium. But I'm going to my high school reunion this week, and I remember the last time I did that, we played Missouri. That same time, and we beat them to death up there. So I'm thinking that's going to happen again.
I think you're right.
As long as Baylor whoops McCallie, man, I'll be in good shape.
Oh wow, that's this weekend.
Tall order, yeah. We'll see what happens.
Hey, Bobber, what's the line on that?
McCallie's won 5 years in a row. We're rocking in a new coach. Chris Angel's got it going on. We're undefeated. They're undefeated.
I was going to say, you got the Chris Angel factor.
That's right, man. And I'm saying I'm going to give McCallie I'm going to favor them about 2 points just based on history. So I'll be it could be in the rain. It could be a sloppy game.
Well, I hear Baylor
and I'll
like
set the total 45.
Okay. I like the under in that one.
Well, good luck to Baylor.
Yeah, I think
All right,
I
thank you,
overdid
sir.
it.
Hey,
You
and
need it.
it's seriously, tell Chris and Peggy hello from the Mad Dog.
I will do it. I'll tell them the Mad Dog Show gave him a big shout out.
All right, guys. Well, thanks
All
again.
right.
See you next week.
Thanks, Mad Dog.
Thank you.
Goodbye, Dogger. Good luck on the Mega Cracker.
All right. Last but not least, we're going to do the top 12 with a twist. We start at number 1, which is obviously the University of Georgia Bulldogs, the defending national champions. Us, never gets old saying we are number 1. At 2, the whining cheaters of Alabama. Turd, the Ohio State brown-eyed shin nuts with a tip of the hat to Rappin' Ross D and Todd Mickler, Middle Georgia QB legend. At 4, it's Michigan because, again, the mainstream sports media has to push this narrative so at the end of the year they can hype Ohio State and Michigan like they do every year. Clemson, also because the mainstream media needs an ACC team to keep that fan base in that joke of a conference interested. 6, the Trojans of the University of South Carolina. No, not South Carolina, Southern California. The mainstream media in this case is slobbering all over themselves that they might finally have a Pac-12 team in the college football playoff. Again, 7, Kentucky. Why is it Kentucky at number 4? Answer, they're in the SEC. 8, Tennessee. Why aren't they number 4? Same answer. 9, Oklahoma State. Why are the reverse cowgirls here at all? I'll tell you why. OU is out and Texas is out, and the pollsters need a Big 12 team. 10, NC State, furthering the false narrative that the ACC has any decent teams and trying to give them a potential team in the college football playoff. 11, PSU, the pedophilia state fighting Sandusky's. Enough said. 12, Utah, whose biggest claim to fame is they lost to a team in the SEC that has 2 losses. At least one of their teams is in it. But here is what the top 12 should be based on the fairest test of all, and that is the eye test, and it's real easy. So here we go. Georgia at 1, followed by Bama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio State, who, by the way, has their 5th home game in a row this week to open the season. USC, the California one, Clemson, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Oregon, Utah, and at 12, it's either Texas A&M or it's the field. Regardless, half of the teams in the top 12 are from the SEC, which leads me to this. It leads me to this nightmare that's barreling down the tracks at the College Football Playoff Committee, and that is this. The day is coming when this playoff rolls out that the Final Four is going to be 4 SEC teams. And one of those teams isn't going to be Oklahoma, and the other one's not going to be Texas. It's going to be a Final Four of the SEC. So how about them apples? Let's end on that deep thought. Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to our guests. And thanks to you for joining us. Hope you're going to enjoy this new format. I know we are. It's going to allow us to add a lot of production value to this and a lot of data to this. Remember, if you want these shirts, if you want Mailman for Heisman, if you are in Macon, go to Corporate Connection on Forsyth Road. Go see Brad Michael. If you are not in Macon, go to www.themaddawg.com. TheMaddawg.com. So, Mad Dog Magic is growing slowly and will reach a crescendo simultaneously with our second natty. Peace out, Mad Dogs.